Latest numbers from the Uganda National Bureau of Statistics are pointing to the fact that the economy contracted quite significantly in the third quarter of the 2019-2020 financial year. Today we try to put into context what that means and which sectors actually didn't perform or performed the way they did. The economy registered a major drop in the third quarter of the just concluded financial year 2019-2020, highlighting the early magnitude of the COVID-19 cost to Uganda. The quarter's underperformance has had a strong bearing on the revision of the country's GDP growth figures, recently highlighted during the country's budget speech reading.
We registered for quarter 3 a 1.8% compared to a growth of 7.3% revised for quarter 3 of 2018-2019. You can see that this is really a slowdown. And actually, that is why we even had in the annual figures from the one that the 6.5, and we had a slowdown up to a 3.1. So these quarters actually explain, because the entire is composed of these quarters.
Quarter 3 runs between January and March, and in this case, it coincided with the announcement of a lockdown as a measure to control the COVID-19 pandemic. Figures from the Uganda National Bureau of Statistics point to an underperformance of the country's most critical sectors, for even where growth was registered, it was weak compared to the numbers from the same quarter in the previous year.
By 1.3% in quarter 3 of 2019-2020, compared to a growth of 8.1% of the quarter 3 of the previous year. The industry sector declined by 1.5% in quarter 3 of 2019-2020 compared to a growth that was registered in the previous quarter of the year of 2018-19 of 10.7% in the same quarter. The manufacturing sector registered a decline, and these are some of the contributors. The decline in the industry sector, we registered declines in the manufacturing sector of 3.1% in quarter 3 of 2019-20 compared to that one that was registered at 7.4% in quarter 3 of 2018-2019. The services sector, which is now our third sector in the economy, broadly, this one overall value added grew by 2.5% in quarter 3 of 2019-2020 compared to a growth of 6.1% that was registered in the previous quarter 3 of 2018-2019.
The minimum growth posted in the services sector was mainly supported by an upsurge in the data usage during the lockdown and an increase in public administration expenses for the coordination of COVID-19 responses. Households, especially in the urban areas, were however cushioned from facing even tougher realities of a slowing economy by good production in the agriculture sector.
Food crops and related items inflation declined, decelerated, because we've been seeing this, the food, like the president said previously. We had a lot of food, much as we had a lockdown, and throughout the period we've had the food has been in the country, has been enough, and actually some food was rotting in some villages. Actually, when you look at some areas, because of the closure of travels, the food has been rotting in some of these centers. So we had enough food, and this inflation has continued to decelerate. This time round, for the year that ended in June 2020, we registered a minus 4.8%, and that was compared to a further decline that was registered for the year that ended in May of minus 4.4% in May 2020.
At a micro level, this clearly does not paint a good picture for the farming households who grow the food in the villages and have had to put up with distressed prices in the period. Overall, the country's economic growth numbers point to a slowdown in the economy. They also raise interest in what government plans to do to resuscitate the country's major economic sectors pushed into a much tougher spot in the quarter 4 of the just concluded financial year, where the full impact of the lockdown has been delivered and indeed felt.